All right, welcome back in, everybody. We're Sports Take. Let's smash the like button, please, folks. We appreciate that if you do. Great hanging out with you on this Monday, Derek Barrett and Rob. All right, guys, so 24 days out to the NFL draft. We're getting close. Kansas City is where the site is this year for the NFL draft. So I want to hit a couple things. Let's start with this before we get to the draft. I should have brought this up first. Did you guys see Darius Slay on his podcast mention his I'm doing my best Darius Slay impersonation. He said he was this close to being a Baltimore Raven. But you know, the Eagles and he figured out a way to get things done, however that came about. And he is still a Philadelphia Eagle after the extension that he happened to receive. Let me start with this. Do you appreciate that Slay is willing to come forth with that kind of stuff and be honest and open up rather than just name, rank, and serial number? Or do you say, maybe you don't need to share so much? Where do you guys fall on that? I'm good. I like that he's some of the stuff he does drives me nuts. I'm good with this, but where are you guys at?
We're talking about Slay, man. I mean, we're lucky just that came out. I mean, you're gonna get the raw, honest opinion of a guy that's willing to give you that raw, honest opinion.
Yeah,
he's gonna give it to you whether you wanted to do it or not. You know what I'm saying? Whether you wanted him to say it or not. And it's cool. You know, it's back to what I've been saying. Philadelphia Eagles are a destination spot for free agents. They want to come here. First of all, I mean, they're winning tradition that they have. They love the fact that they're going to compete. They're always going to be in a position where they're able to compete for at least, being in the division, tops of the division, tops in the conference. But the biggest thing is players talk, and they talk to each other about how they treat their veteran players here. And they treat their veterans pretty daggone good, man. Really good, actually.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%, but here's what I can tell you. That story is 100% true. That deal between Slay and the Ravens was done deal, basically. Before he signed that deal, he got a call. Hey, can you come in the Eagles office for a few minutes? Sat down and talked with a few people, and all of a sudden changed his mind. Now, what was said behind closed doors, I don't know, but he changed his mind because in his mind, he was gone to Baltimore. He was gone.
Mm.
No question.
Interesting. That's
and then
interesting.
in the 11th hour,
right,
somehow, some way, Eagles got him to see things their way.
Okay. Well, hey, whatever it takes is the first thing I would say. So interesting. But he's back. And again, if this is one of those deals where if you told me that Bradbury and Slay were both going to be back, I would have said no way. I would think that was totally
absolutely
wishful
no way.
There's
no way they should be back. I don't know how he did it, but how he made that happen. That's crazy that we have both of our starting corners back. Big dollar starting corners are back and fitting within the salary cap right now.
Mm-hmm.
That should not have happened.
Well, see, I think I go back to what I said last week. I think in Bradbury's situation, he was offered more money, but I think the teams that were offering him more money are reclamation projects that are trying to build something.
Right.
And Bradbury got the taste of going to a Super Bowl. He was this close to winning a Super Bowl. And when you look at his age and his tenure in the NFL, there's some players that jump at that last dollar. You know why? Because maybe in the middle of their career, they didn't blossom the way they started to expanding in the late 20s into early 30s. And there's teams out there desperate enough that want to bring in their veteranship and leadership to where the point they were offered more money than they were in the middle of their career when you're supposed to be in that prime between the ages of 25 and 28. So they jumped at that money. In Slay's case, he might. Now, this is my perspective. I'm not to give you inside information. And I've seen this happen with a lot of players, older players. Dude, I got a chance to win the ring. I've made decent money. I got a chance to win the ring. They're offering me decent money. Not as much as I could have got somewhere else, but do I want to go to a Houston or Chicago or an Atlanta? And we don't know exactly who offers Slay Bradbury what. But at some point, is winning that trophy more important than a few extra dollars?
Yeah.
Maybe it is for Bradbury.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, even a usually stable organization like just Baltimore, for example, like just taking Baltimore, there's a lot going on there, man. You don't know if Lamar's going to be back.
Yeah.
Frankly, they haven't had great success lately. They're always there. They're always in the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I love John Harbaugh, but they haven't been great. This is a much better situation if you're just about winning than it is.
The biggest problem with the Ravens over the last 2 years is they can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
They have a good nucleus, but what was it, 2 years ago? They lost their whole secondary.
Mm-hmm.
No, they lost all 3 running backs. And then last year, the secondary started falling apart. The linebackers started falling apart. Then the quarterback missed the last 7 games. That team can't stay healthy, And so do you want to be in a situation like that, or do you want to – you can't emphasize enough. This Eagles team sent 22 starters into the field of battle for a Super Bowl. That's unheard of.
Ridiculous. That's unheard of. Unheard of.
And so I'm thinking, what is their training staff doing that the other teams aren't doing?
Mm-hmm.
Take that in consideration as well.
Yeah.
They're going to keep you upright and breathing to be there for the big show.
And they take care of you. You know what I'm saying? They take care of their guys.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. You got veteran players that, would go to bat, with putting their reputation on the line and say, hey, man, come here. They will take care of you if you're an older player here. They're going to take care of you. They're going to make sure you're going to be ready. Your body's going to feel good going into a game. And that's what you want as a player. You want that.
Yeah. Amen. So, all right. So we know Slay's back. So that's, positive here, certainly for the Eagles secondary, no doubt. Mentioned, I want to get into the draft in a second. Let me just hit you guys at this first. And props to Ruben Frank from NBC Sports Philadelphia for some of these stats and for putting together in his piece on NBC Sports Philadelphia. But last 20 years, one team after losing the Super Bowl has gotten back to the Super Bowl the next season, and that was the Patriots. Patriots lose to the Eagles. You remember Super Bowl 52? Yeah, they came back and won it the next year. That was the really ugly
in the
game
second half.
The Rams, right? Wasn't it that?
Yeah.
Was that ugly game against the Rams, or
right?
It wasn't.
No, that was the Falcons game. No, it wasn't.
The
next year they won it.
I thought it was that ugly game against the Rams, but you guys might be right. Anyway, so New England's the only team to do it in the last 2 decades. The only one. Listen to this. 19 other teams. 4 lost in the conference final. 5 lost in the divisional round. 2 lost in the wild card. But here's the whopper. 40% haven't even made the playoffs the next year. 40.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay? So if you look at the Eagles' history, when they lost in 1980 to the Raiders, they came back in the next year. They did make the playoffs, but they lost in the wild card to the Giants. Then you go to the 04 team. They came back in 05. They missed the playoffs completely. They get decimated with injuries. T.O. lost his mind. We all know what happened. No need to rehash all of it.
He said T.O. lost his mind.
And meanwhile, we were all losing our mind when it was all unfolding.
That was crazy, man.
Griffin's right. The Falcons was Super Bowl 51. That's correct. So that's before the Eagles. So there was that bad Rams one game. Anyway, that's pretty daunting, man. Like that's pretty worrisome. And I know every year is different, every team's different, but yeesh.
Well, you're at the I won the Super Bowl. We went back that next year. We were 8-8. Okay. We totally sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost.
So Barry, walk us. What is it? Just you gave everything you had that previous year, and it's hard to sum up enough just to sort of go through everything you have to go through? What is it?
In all actuality, I think it's because we got just taken apart, totally dissected by other teams coming in and taking our players. I mean, a lot of those players left and were, part of other franchises. When you win a Super Bowl or you're in a Super Bowl, everybody wants what made you great, and it's the players and the coaches that made you great. We had several coaches leave the organization, go to different places as head coaches and coordinators and stuff. Yeah, players, big time players get their paydays and go to other organizations, and that's the biggest thing. You don't get the same group of guys the next year. If you kept the same group of guys, same group of coaches, you'd be able to compete easily the next year. That is not, it's very rare that you get, besides Brady. Brady willed those teams by himself to do it. But it's hard for another team to come out there and have the same results or have those type of results going into it, So that's the biggest thing, It's more so you can't keep your players. Players are leaving and they want to take advantage of their success, all that hard work they had. So they leave and go to other teams.
Interesting. Yeah, Gunner. So just to Barrett's point, I mean, just take the Eagles, for example. They on defense, they lost their coordinator, their linebackers coach, the secondary coach, another assistant coach. They lost Javon Hargrave, they lost CJGJ, they lost Epps, they lost Kaiser White, just to name a few. So that fits into the narrative.
Edwards.
Yeah, right. That fits right into the narrative of what Barrett's talking about. Not only is it hard because you are the hunted, right? But you also lose pieces. You lose pieces that helped get you there.
It's the vultures that circle and swoop down and pick the carcass clean after you've had success. And then a bigger part of it is, people keep saying, oh, they only play once a week. But the mental and physical strain you go through to play once a week is unlike anything that basketball, hockey, or baseball encounters. And after even if you don't win it, after you get there, you are everybody's Super Bowl game next season. The mental and physical tax you go through just to get up. And I don't care how good a team is. You always have one or two games where mentally you're just not as sharp. Physically, you're just not on point. But everybody who comes in gears up to play you because they want to take you off that pedestal just a little bit. I've seen it happen too many times. You couple in the injury factor, and it's like once the domino effect starts, it's like a plague or a virus. Once one person gets the cold, everybody else is susceptible to getting that virus. And you go back to that Eagles team of 2004. They should have gone back to the Super Bowl in 2005. Outside of T.O. losing their mind, that team it was one injury after another. It was Trotter. It was somebody else. It's like, every week we would sit there talking about who's next. It became a running joke, and then you look at the Eagles team that Doug Peterson had after the year after he won the Super Bowl, the next 2 years, the offensive line in particular. It was just like blown the offensive line 2 years in a row. Everybody's making fun of Carson Wentz being Chuck and Duck. Look what he had protecting him for the next 2 years in terms of injuries. And then you had a bunch of kids playing on the back end of the defense that Malcolm Jenkins had to coach through games because they were losing veteran players by the wayside. It's just the nature of the beast. The numbers that you gave by way of Reuben Frank, I'm not surprised one bit because you see it happen. And then you look at the other factor. Look what happened to the Rams. They sold their souls for that one moment of glory, and it paid off for them. It paid off for them. And look at what they put on the field the following year. Their carcass was picked clean. Yeah. Look at Howie Roseman's team, okay? Howie Roseman sold the farm, and everybody applauded what he did in 2022, strategically putting pieces in place. One of the most dominant array of talents that we'll ever see in the last 10, 15 years. He got close, didn't finish it. Now he's able to bring a lot of it back, but he's got to get younger at strategic spots now to try to repeat. And it's going to be harder because the schedule is that much harder. The opponents are that much better.
Yep.
So that's why those numbers don't surprise.
And it's a challenging division too, to say the least.
And another thing, that doesn't really get said a lot is the preparation that you have going into the next season is cut off substantially. When you suck, you have from the first week or first or second. Well, it's actually the first week of January, and that's like a month of preparation that you get that the Super Bowl teams don't get. You know what I'm saying? That's a chance to look at film, go out there and see what players they have, what they need. How they can go about seeing or taking another team's stuff. I mean, for the front office, coaching staff, and scouting departments, that time is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's time that they just don't get anymore.
Yeah, I think for all those reasons, it is daunting. Hey, let me just real quick throw this at you before we get to the draft stuff. So the Kelsey brothers have their podcast called New Heights, which is really good. It's really entertaining. They had Howie Roseman on. They actually taped these during the combine. So Jason has them on, and he says to him, basically, what was your, like come to Jesus moment in the NFL when you things weren't going perfectly for you, but you got your butt handed to you. Okay. So Howie tells this story after the 2005 season, the season we're just talking about, where the Eagles had all kinds of injuries and it was ugly. Teal was unhappy with his contract, and he and Donovan were butting heads and the whole thing. So what did they win? 5 or 6 games? I forget. It was hideous. It was tough. Anyway,
I think it was 6 and 10.
Okay. So the season ends, and Andy is just basically like, look, we just went through hell this year. Let's all get away. Like, I don't want you in the office. I don't want us thinking about it. Just go. Get out. Go. Do whatever you got to do. Recharge. So Howie decides he's going to take a vacation in Miami. And he gets on his flight. He said he got upgraded to first class, unbeknownst to him. So he's sitting there. There's a seat in front of him that's open. And he's waiting. They're getting ready to take off. The last people are boarding. And who does he see? T.O. So keep in mind, at this point, Howie is not the guy. It's Andy and Joe Banner, but he's right there with all these discussions, right, and everything that's going on. He's like the right-hand man for Joe Banner. T.O. looks at him. Howie's like, oh, my God. Like, I can't even get away from this. T.O. sits down. He jacks his seat as far back as it can go. It's like in Howie's lap for the entire flight, according to Howie. Okay? So it's 2.5 hours of this where Howie can't even move, right? So they land
in first class.
How T.O. juts the seat back up. He stands up. Howie looks at him and says, Hey man, have fun in Miami. And Howie says, T.O. looks back at him and says, bleep you to him. Okay. and walks off the flight. And Howie's just like, well,
okay.
Yeah, I guess that was my wake-up call that we're not going to get the Super Bowl every year. Not everything's going to go well. But T.O. was pretty funny. Like, he responded on after he quote tweeted the clip and was basically like, look, I don't remember this, but God bless him if he remembers all this kind of stuff. I don't think I would have said F you to him, but I put like a laughing emoji. He wasn't like, wasn't some war all of a sudden started. But right. That's a pretty funny story, man. That the bad luck of something like that happening, man.
That's just, I mean, that's amazing, bro.
Pretty funny.
That's amazing.
But check it out if you get a chance to see the clip. It's pretty good. All right. All right. So the draft. So the Eagles right now are at 10-30, guys. That we know. We also know that Howie is a wheeler and dealer, and very rarely does he stand pat. Okay. So let's put ourselves in the Eagles position. Let's do a little prognosticating here. Let's put on our hats here and look ahead a little bit. Here's my best guess. I absolutely think 30's traded. Let me start there. That'll be traded into the second round. And they'll try to recoup some stuff in the middle, I think. 10 can go a lot of ways. If they're sitting there, and for example, Jayden Carter falls because of some of the off-the-field stuff, okay? But they believe they vetted him enough. I don't know what just happened there.
I don't know what happened there. I was like, okay, all right.
I just tried to keep going, but I if they believe he's good to go and this was an isolated thing and he's fine, let's say he's falling and all of a sudden, wow, he's at 7. Oh my God, he's at 8. Like, this thing's getting real now. And then all of a sudden he either falls into their lap at 10, or if they maybe want to jump up a spot, whatever. Then I think there's a distinct possibility they either stay at 10 or maybe potentially move up if there's that kind of scenario, right? Which there could be, by the way, considering 4 quarterbacks are going ahead of them, at least. Okay. Likely. So I think if that happens, they stay there. If not, I think they could move down with both picks. And I know fans don't like to hear that, but I really do believe that. That's just in terms of maneuvering. And we'll get into who we think they may take first. So where do you guys fall on this, sitting there at 10-30 with 2 picks in the first round?
I think they're going to try to stay at 10 and get the best player possible. If Carter falls in their lap at 10, I think it's a slam dunk. They take Carter because they like to build from the inside out. If they don't, I think it's imperative that they get another young corner, because while Bradbury and Slay both stayed healthy all season long, you can't have enough cornerbacks in the National Football League. And I think it's imperative. And I don't know if Christian Gonzalez will be on the board when they pick there.
No.
But I do say you have Weatherspoon and you have Porter there, and you have to take one of those two. Barron and I have gone back and forth all off season about Gonzalez compared to Weatherspoon. And I think, you look at all these mock drafts and all these experts, how they size them up, and people have gone back and forth between Gonzalez and Witherspoon being the 2 premier. Joey Porter is a close third. If Witherspoon is sitting there because he's the best man-to-man cover, the most physical, the one that's not afraid to play bump and run and just does all these things, I think you grab Witherspoon there and let him groom under Slay and Bradbury for a year, and then he's going to assume a role maybe the next year, and probably Slay will probably be gone after this year. I don't know. But I think you go to D-line or the cornerback position hand in hand, whatever's available there.
All right, B, how about you?
If Jalen Carter's, if he gets to 8, there's no way on God's green earth that the Eagles will allow him to get past 8. They're going to try to, trade up to get that. Even 7 is realistically for him with the number 30 pick. And that's just the nature of when you have a game changer like that. Yeah, I know about what he did at his workout, what I'm saying? And then I understand that. I understand the stuff that happened with the girl. But, the tape doesn't lie. You don't lose what you saw on tape, especially in the SEC. You don't lose that type of funk. He brought it he's brought it the last 2.5 years. So when you look at that film, you look at that tape, there's no way that he gets past 8. Like it or not, he'll work in our locker room. We have a locker room that can do that. We got Fletcher Cox, we got Brandon Graham, guys that can get him going in the right direction. Make sure he's in shape. Make sure he's doing things the right way. So I doubt seriously if he gets around 8, I see the Eagles moving up to try to get him. Christian Gonzalez, he won't. He's another guy that won't be on the board when we pick either. He'll get picked right around 6, 7. There will, Witherspoon will be there. I would love for them to pick up Witherspoon. I just some reason think I think they're going D lineman. I think they're going to go with a D end, a defensive end /3 type of player like Carter. Or
when you say 3, Barrett, what do you mean by that? So for people who don't know,
a guy that can play both defensive tackle and defensive end.
Okay.
If not, I think they'll trade back and get a guy like Nolan Smith. Nolan's a good player too. I mean, he's a Hassan Reddick-esque type of player, about 250, 6'3", 6'4", can rush the passer, has a high motor, but also is good enough to play the run. Solid at turn and get things turned back in. He creates penetration. He gets up the field. He makes sure the ball doesn't get outside of him. He's a run stopper also. He's not just a pass guy. He's a run stopper also. We can get him later on. If we get him like around 14, 15, why not trade back, get more bang for the buck? You know what I'm saying? We don't have players around that in the 4th, 5th, and the 6th. So I think that's where you start collecting those other players, moving back and get an opportunity to bring those guys in. So yeah, I mean, I could see him doing that more than anything. But if Jalen Carter's around that 8 area, they trade up. If he's not, he's already been taken. Then I think they move back and look for a guy like the kid from Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe they go in a different direction. But I mean, that's just what I think.
Okay. And by the way, I was looking at his draft profile. They have him listed, and take this with a grain of salt, but they have him at 6'2", 238. There's some people that question if he's weighs quite that much. But yeah, I mean, and he tore his pec. He couldn't finish the season. But you would look at his 3-4 years there, man. He was good every single year.
Oh, he was dominant every single year.
Yeah, he's got
from his freshman year on.
Yeah, fast, quick twitch, attacks,
explosive,
pulls. Yeah. I mean, point of attack leverage for a guy his size, all those kind of things. The only concern is his size. That's it. I mean, that's really what it is.
But they say he's a run stopper also. He can stop the run. He can set the edge. All that stuff is a compliment to his work, and he's pretty good at doing that type of stuff. So he, like I said, he reminds me a lot of Hassan Reddick. Can you imagine him coming off one side and Hassan Reddick come off the other side?
Yep. That's serious. But again, I wouldn't be surprised. And I know you pointed out offensive line. You guys both did. Paris Johnson wouldn't surprise me one bit. The Ohio State kid, if they end up going that route. Because if you think about it, Juergens is probably going to play guard this year, probably. But Kelsey's going to retire soon. He's going to have to slide over to center. And if they don't feel like they love the Driscoll types, it could be a Skoronski. It could be a Paris Johnson. You could make that kind of move.
Or Jones. Jones from Georgia.
George from Georgia.
If you move back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All those things could happen.
Yep.
Yeah, well, fans don't like to hear trade back. I know it puts a damper on things, but it very well could happen for sure.
Here's the thing. I've learned over the last few years in particular to put side height and weight aside, because go back to a guy named Aaron Donald. Everybody talked about he could be the next great one. Then there were the pundits who said he's not big enough. He's just not big enough. I have concern. Have you seen anywhere where Aaron Donald being a 265-pound D tackle has affected him negatively?
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Right.
So it depends on the scheme you get in. You know, I learned a long time ago. It depends on the scheme. If you get despite the height and the weight, if you put them in the right spot, if you're in the right scheme with the right coaches, they can excel. They can excel. So I want to know the athletic attributes. That's all I need to know. Give me the athletic attributes of what they can do, and let's judge it from there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where, you know, guys that come out and become these combine warriors, you know. So you got to watch that a little bit. You really got to watch that a little bit. But I've seen guys come in and you know, like Mamula he's the first one to start training for the draft, and you know, got him picked up, you know, pretty high. When you look at Nolan Smith, he's a 4.3 guy.
Yes.
235, 240, 4.3. Come on now. Just Kalijah Kancey from Pitt.
Yeah.
I believe he can, you know, be the next Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Yes.
The next guy to come in. He's a small guy, Ed Oliver type player, almost like a I would equate him almost like a John Randall-esque. You know, if he gained a little weight, you know, he can be a John Randall-esque type of player.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, got to take a chance.
So 30, if you either at 30 or trading down into the second round is really where it gets fascinating, because then it opens up so many different possibilities. Let me say this. I get asked about, I'm sure you guys too, all the time.
Running back.
Radio. Huh?
Running back.
Yeah, you know where I'm going. or in the chat section. I can't tell you how many times Bijan Robinson's name comes up. And here's the thing. When you talk about this, people think you're saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying that. He's an awesome player.
Right. Exactly.
Number one, philosophically, they don't believe in taking a running back that high. They just don't. All you do is look at the history since Joe Banner and Andy were running things in the late 90s, okay? All the way up until today, because Howie and Jeffrey carry that same philosophy. I went back and did this, guys. I went through this yesterday, okay? I looked back. Let me see. I'm going to pull it up on my crazy notes. All right, so the last 10 Super Bowl winners. You ready for this? Chiefs, Rams, Bucks, Chiefs, Patriots, Eagles, Patriots, Broncos, Patriots. I hate saying Patriots all those times, but it's what it is. Seahawks. Okay. You look at all those teams, with the exception of the Seahawks with beast mode. Okay. Those teams didn't have a featured running back.
Yep.
They didn't have, when I say featured, like a highly, like a guy was taken as high as like Saquon or Christian McCaffrey or whatever. They don't have those guys. Okay. You don't have to draft. You don't have to allot a resource that high to that position. Go back to last year. Isaiah Pacheco, 7th rounder out of Rutgers, became their feature running back. So it's not a knock on Bijan, but you can get quality enough running backs later. Whereas it's hard to find quality offensive linemen, quality corners, quality D tackles, quality edge guys.
Yep.
Real high. So that's where I allot my money to and my resources to.
That's exactly where I'd go with it, though.
Yeah.
You know, I would go with, like Cant said, I'd say he has more production than Smith. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he could bring more to the table than Smith. I mean, it's apples, oranges, all fruit. You know, both guys are productive. Both guys can make plays. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at how these guys are built, I think I would go in the Cansey direction more so than the Smith direction. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I think you get more bang for the buck from the creative, you know, having a guy going from the inside, creating that havoc. I think we got enough on the outside that we can, you know, go forward with just a guy from the outside. We go inside, that production inside. You saw what it did with the way blocking schemes were when you had a guy on the inside that could create as much havoc, as Hargrave did. So yeah, I would go Cansey. I would put him in there. I would draft him also. So I mean, this is either way you go. I think DLine is the way in which she's going to go.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I believe the same thing. And I look, the one thing you can always say about Howie is he's unpredictable. So you never say never, and you never say this is a lock. So I'm not. Am I telling you it's completely impossible that they would take Bijan Robinson? I'm not telling you that, but I really, really don't see it. I don't see it.
If somehow, some way Bijan slipped to a second or third round,
that's different.
That's a little different, But I don't see it. I don't see it. But Howie finds a way to just wow us. I mean, you're looking at Kobe Dean. Did you think he would drop to a third round, even with all the negative stuff that came out about him? Supposedly, everything that everybody saw in him was he can't miss first rounder, at the very worst, high second round pick. This kid slips all the way to the third round. Eagles grab him. That's the way I see them taking a Bijan. I don't think Bijan lasts to the third round. If there's one running back that goes into the first 2 rounds, matter of fact, I'd be shocked if he's still on the board after the first 40 picks.
I agree, Derek. Yeah, he is. He's that talented. He's he's incredibly good. He really is.
I don't think the Eagles will grab him. I don't. Like I said, my biggest fear is somehow, some way, the Cowboys grab this kid because it's the perfect storyline for Dallas. Keep him in state. Transfer right from Texas right into the Cowboys. I don't want to see him go there.
26 is where the Cowboys pick for what it's worth.
I believe you can drop to 26. I honestly do.
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe Baltimore 22. Maybe
a running back. I would say Chicago. I would say Chicago in their second pick, man.
That's a good point.
I know they got the young kid there,
the Herbert kid. Yeah,
Herbert. Yeah, but I could definitely see them going.
Let's see. Right now, Baltimore's running back depth chart is J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and they love both of them. I don't see them taking Bijan. They're pretty good.
Both banged up, though.
Yeah, they have. Yes, they have. But I still don't see them. They have other priorities. They need to get pass catching weapons. I mean, their front line pass catchers right now: Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, and Nelson Aguilar, and tight end Mark.
They need receivers, man.
They need receivers.
Yeah,
the Bears.
Dallas is the only one. Dallas, you're right. Dallas is the only one I can see really.
I'm telling you, man. I got a bad feeling in my stomach. This kid.
Let me throw one more team. Maybe. If things go sideways with Austin Eckler and they do trade him,
right?
Maybe the Chargers, sitting there at 21.
Right. That you know what?
That's not a bad option.
I
don't know what happens with Eckler. I don't know. I don't know how that shakes out. I know he's not happy.
Wow. Yeah, they've got outside of Eckler, they got Joshua Kelly, Isaiah Spiller, and Larry Roundtree III. Outside of Eckler,
nothing.
It's just a bunch of names. So you're right. They may be in line. I'd much rather see him go to the Chargers than to go to Dallas.
No, I don't want to see him. I don't want to see he and Tony Pollard.
No, I don't want to see that.
Pollard got a leg sleeve tattoo. Did you guys see this?
No.
Of all cartoons, and it's like his whole thigh is like SpongeBob SquarePants.
What?
Yeah, like do a search for Tony Pollard leg tattoo. I know these are like the rabbit holes you would like. You're like, what am I doing with my life? But I saw it. I'm like, man, oh man. God bless you. That's on your leg for the rest of your life.
Or maybe like
Squidward.
Wow, he got his arms are pretty impressive. Also, JAKIB Robinson. He has Rosa Parks. He's got Malcolm X.
Yeah, I think he went lighter side on the legs.
Yeah. Martin Luther King. He's got a lot of big time people.
Yeah, historical, impactful, heavy hitter type of people. Yeah.
But let me look at his legs.
It's the kind of stuff we do. I love it. Yeah, he does. He's got it's all cartoons. It's SpongeBob and it's a lot. There's a lot on there.
Oh yeah, he even have Boondock Saints and not Boondock Saints, but the what do you call it? The commercial the streamer tell me.
Yeah.
Boondocks, the Boondocks, I think it is.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull it up again just for us. I can see if I can name what's on there.
Scooby-Doo. He's got Scrappy.
He's got Scooby-Doo. He's got Scrappy-Doo.
He's got what do you call it? The little
Addams
kids,
Family.
Rugrats.
Yeah,
Addams Family. You got Rugrats on there. He's got.
I don't even know some of these. I'm too old to even know some of these things.
Yeah, I know a lot of these guys. Yeah,
it's the greatest cartoon characters ever, in his opinion, that go from his upper thigh to his ankle.
That's pain, man. I can't believe he got.
How long did that take, man?
Right. That's crazy.
Rugrats, Scooby-Doo, Johnny Bravo, Goku. I don't know some of these.
Yeah, I know
Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, anyway, you get the gist.
First of all, you don't have to worry about me ever getting a tattoo because I'm not sitting still long enough to let anybody sketch anything with needle on my skin. I can't do it. There's tattoos that are very fascinating, very unique. Some people do the whole body. You sit there going, why? Because those are forever. I mean, why do you do that to your body? I am not sitting still long enough for anybody to sit there and sketch any type of drawing. Even my initials ain't happening on my
Hold on. He sat down with 4 tattoo artists to do it.
Oh, 4 of them did it at the same time. Oh, man.
Yeah.
No, heck no. No, thank you. No.
Damn. How much did that cost?
Wow.
How much do you think that cost? Seriously, I have no idea.
That's got to be like a $10,000, $12,000 job.
Damn.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4 tattoo artists at the same time.
Wow.
Okay. Oh man, that's got to be painful.
No, I can't do that, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot there. That's a lot, man. There's a lot going on there.
Put me to sleep, bro.
I get, put me to sleep too. But the problem is if they, I don't know what you do anyway. If they start screwing it up, you're
right.
All right. So we're going to dig in. I'll throw this name at you guys in the NFL segment. An interesting name was their free agent contract was rescinded. The tender was rescinded by their club. And I think he's a guy who could maybe help the Eagles. Okay. So we'll get into that in a little bit. We come back. We'll talk some Phillies. We mentioned it off the top. They get swept this weekend. They're in New York tonight taking on the Yankees, but it was not a pretty sight in Dallas or Arlington, wherever they play. It was ugly. Okay.
What is it about the Rangers that have this mystique over the Phillies? They won 12, 13 in a row against the Phillies.
It's insane. It really is. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I wish I did. All right. We'll dig into that when we get back. He's Barrett. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you right now about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances can be challenging, right? Finding that right person. And I found the right person, and I want you to as well. That's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, could be your 401k, could be an insurance review. If you're not really sure, right? You're trying to get a business off the ground and get your benefits started. These are all the resources that Jim can help you with, and then some. I know personally, I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers to Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call. And if you're not really sure, you just want a consultation, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You can also email him, Murray, MURRAY.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.